It is Wednesday night. It is time for another edition of the Auburn Family live stream here as part of E2C Network Live. And we appreciate you guys so much for tuning in, joining us for this Wednesday night call-in show where we'll get into anything and everything related to Auburn. War Eagle Auburn family, welcome back to another edition of E2C Network Live, Wednesday night live shows. We've been doing this since the dawn of time at 8 p.m. Eastern Time, where we get together and we talk about what you want to discuss, your calls, your questions, your comments. It's all part of this. We're going to be talking about anything and everything that you want to discuss tonight. Obviously, a lot of the show is predicated upon what you want to discuss. So don't be shy. Join in on the fun today, whether you're watching here on YouTube, the home base, where we encourage everybody to come in and watch if you can. Over on the YouTube channel, it's the full experience. But you may be watching on Twitter. You may be watching on Facebook. You might also be watching on Instagram. We've tried that tonight for those of you that want to give that a try. I will warn you, those of you that are on Instagram, that you will have a few things missing, such as the callers who do call in. I'll try to relay what they're saying to you. But that's why we encourage you to come on over to the YouTube if you'd like to join in that way. With all that being said, however you got here, we're just thankful that you're here. Start off the show right now in the comments section by posting where you're watching from, your city, state, your international. If you are international with a War Eagle, we want to know who's here, hanging out with us, talking about the stuff that you want to talk about tonight as part of this Auburn Family Night. So we will open up the phone lines for those of you that would like to take advantage of that right now. As always, our phone lines are brought to you by our friends at All Things Auburn. You need to check them out. Their logo's coming up on the main screen here for those of you on the main feed right now. So we'll talk about them a little bit later. But phone lines are open. Utilize that link in the chat if you would like to call in tonight onto the show. And don't be shy. A lot of stuff to talk about. Basketball, spring sports are underway. Plenty of things out there. So let's get into it tonight. Let me start by saying hello to a bunch. We got Rise Live, Thomas Manville, Devin checking in here on YouTube. A lot of other people checking in on Facebook. Andrew, good to see you. Thanks for so much for you guys for utilizing this as your check-in period here. You guys dictate this show. I love this show because literally there's no preparation on my part that I have to do. I just kind of come in here and go with what you guys want to talk about. So jump right in, either call in or suggest a topic that you would like to, or I'll just start talking about what I want to talk about. Devin says, War Eagle E2C Network family, I have now typed E2C enough that is an autofill option on my keyboard. That is what I love to hear. Those are the things that make me very, very happy to hear. When we have reached the level of the Googles deciding to autofill for you, for us, I guess that's not necessarily Google, that's you doing that, but that's an incredible feat. So we take every bit of celebration that we can get here. Andrew's asking on Facebook, do you think Auburn will pick up a quarterback in the next transfer portal? So if you are, I guess I would need a little clarification from you, Andrew. Are you talking about picking up one to play this year, meaning to finish off the 2023 cycle, or are you talking about the next year? Do I think? I have no indication to think that they're going to at this moment, but as Coach Hugh Freeze has said to you several times, well, I say you personally, but the general Auburn fandom, if someone wants to be here and they can fill a role and want to come compete for a spot, we'll take them. Listen, I think a lot of the hype around a transfer quarterback has come and gone. Now, there is another wave that's probably going to open up, especially as we get into spring practice and stuff like that. So I'm going to use the most boring thing ever. We'll just have to wait and see, right? But it is obviously a potential. You're clarifying for this year. No, and I would stress this, Andrew, and I'm not saying this to you specifically, but I'm saying this again to the general Auburn fandom. Everybody needs to go ahead and reconcile with the fact that your quarterback's already here, unless something changes. And what I mean by that is Robbie Ashford or Holden Gurner. I say that name so many different ways. Hank Brown, your quarterback is here. Things obviously can change, but I think we need to stop focusing so much on, is a transfer quarterback going to come in? And if they do, just awesome and let it shake out. But Robbie Ashford's your quarterback. and we need to plan on it being like that for a little while. But I understand the interest and the hope that maybe spruce up the quarterback room. What you should be excited about, though, on this topic is the quarterback outlook for the future. With Walker White coming in, I'm hoping we won't have to utilize him for several, I shouldn't say several, for at least his first year, and let him kind of grow into the system and just kind of see what happens from there. So a transfer portal quarterback, I almost said quarterback, would really help kind of bridge that gap a little bit. It's just got to be a matter of fit and opportunity too. Rise Life just says Auburn gymnastics. What do you want to talk about Auburn gymnastics? It's great, isn't it? We are off a really hot win over LSU, a big top 10 win. Auburn is kind of sitting, I think, a lot where they were sitting last year for gymnastics, right in that about that same spot. Suni is just doing what she does, score 10s. Darian Goborn's still doing some great things. So if there's something specific about gymnastics you want to mention, drop that in there. But I'm excited every time I get an opportunity to watch them. Devin says, I recorded the game last night talking about Auburn basketball. Already watched it back this afternoon with my son. What a fun game. It really was a fun game last night. I hope everybody got an opportunity to watch it. And I do see that we got a comment here on Instagram. I'll try to catch in just a little bit. So the way we're doing the Instagram setup tonight is a little bit different. So I'm going to have to kind of monitor it a little bit. We're always trying new things here. Anyway, I hope everybody got a chance to watch that game like Devin's talking about, because it's a lot of fun. Janice says on Instagram, where can I live stream equestrian team meets granddaughter on the team? Oh, good question. Washington State checking in. That's awesome. So sometimes they've live streamed them like on YouTube, but that's few and far between. You need to follow Auburn Elvis on Instagram, Twitter, all that stuff. He's our guy that covers equestrian for us. He's a wealth of knowledge. He also works for SI Daily over there too, doing some equestrian coverage. You really want to keep up with him for those type of things. All right, we'll get back to some comments and questions here. We got our first caller. So again, Instagram people, keep in mind you won't be able to hear the caller, so that's why I encourage you to come over here, but just hang tight there and we'll get back over to you guys. Kevin, what's going on, sir? How are you doing? Kevin?
Morego.
How are you doing? Kevin, we look like we got a little bit of a connection issue there, buddy. Can you hear me? Kevin, call back in, okay? Call back in one more time. Try that again, and we'll get you in one more time. All right. Well, sometimes that happens from time to time there. So if you want to call in, please do try and do so. Rise Life, I'm not certain, but Cobb is number 2. Number 2 what? What do you mean number 2? Maybe I'm missing the context of what you're saying there. I rewatched the game at least 10 times. My history is filled up with Auburn football. Elvis loves every aspect of the Auburn family. He does. That's why he fits in very well with what we do here. And that's why we love us some Auburn Elvis. He especially loves to give, and I think rightfully so, some of the smaller programs a little bit more attention, especially like equestrian. Equestrian, before they started regularly winning championships, I don't think people knew we had an equestrian team. You should go check them out if you can, because they're pretty dang good facilities, top notch, just all around program. So if you're not following equestrian, you need to be. All right, let's try that again. Kevin, how's it going, buddy? Can you hear me? Kevin, can you hear me? All right, buddy. I don't know if it's going to work tonight. You can try one more time, but I don't know if it's going to work tonight. So we might having some connection issues. So call back in one more time. We'll get it right at some point tonight. That's the beautiful thing about technology. It's a beautiful thing in that it doesn't work when you want it to. All right. So with that in mind, tonight, obviously kind of back to what we were talking about a little bit, the basketball game last night. Has the hype worn off from anybody yet? To me, the hype is still there very much for the basketball game last night. I thought that was one of the more complete games that we played all season, but even, dating back to last season as well. Just complete and utter dominance. Today we posted a stat, 39 point lead at one point. And mind you, this is a Missouri team that we beat yesterday that is not a pushover by any stretch of the imagination. They are not a team that you should be saying, pushing to the side and saying, well, that makes sense that we would beat them like that. They're not one of the best, but they're not one of the worst either. So for Auburn in Neville Arena, obviously home court advantage, taking that over. You know, it was an incredible feat. Really enjoyed that game last night. Unbeaten Lake says peaking time ? Do you mean are we peaking right now in basketball? I think it's a little bit too early to say that we're peaking as a basketball team. I hope not, because if you want to peak at the right time, you want to peak probably about the time that you're hitting the SEC tournament. So I hope that actually hasn't arrived quite yet. But what I've been telling you guys a lot, we talked about this on the live stream last night, was my assertion all season that this team is just this close to becoming so deadly as a team. They are so good, but they've just missed that one little spot. Last night, we saw Katie Johnson do what he can. We saw Alan Flanagan do what we know he's capable of. We saw Leo Berman contribute more than he normally does. And that's all while Wendell Green took a back seat in terms of scoring. And Janai Broom, even though he had a great night offensively, had a few injury bugs and had to sit out the last 8 minutes or so. Great team effort. Absolutely great team effort. I hope the team, you said you hope the team can carry that hype into Saturday as well. Absolutely. I think I've said this several times here. I hate Vanderbilt's court with a passion, with an absolute passion. It is awful, 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 awful. Go look it up where they put the teams sitting down. It is absolutely awful. Just makes me upset looking and talking about Vanderbilt's court. Let's see here. Janice says on Instagram that they need to live stream the equestrian. That's something you're gonna have to take up with them. There are rules and regulations to what you can and can't live stream for certain reasons. Or the other thing too is, unfortunately, most people don't tune in to those type of things, so they have to have an audience for the sponsors to, obviously broadcast those type of things. So continue to build the interest in it, and they will be knocking down the doors to televise and to live stream those games, or those matches, I should say, for equestrian. Let's see here. Bama and Tennessee are tied at halftime. At this point, which team winning would help us more? I saw somebody on Twitter kind of lay this out and say the different scenarios. I don't know who it was to credit them, but I like the way they laid it out for the rest of the season and say kind of where Auburn would probably end up. I mean, in any scenario, obviously Alabama losing is great, but there's also that notion that Alabama is already far enough ahead of everybody, including Auburn. What's the point at this point of them losing? Just maintain their lead, make sure they beat everybody else that potentially is going to be jockeying for position with an Auburn, basketball team for the SEC tournament. I think right now, Auburn can either tie for third or be fourth, which fourth is really where most people had us. I think, honestly, they had us about fifth when we started the season. So that would be technically overachieving. But yeah, we'll obviously watch very eagerly to see how all that shakes out. But there's a lot of still that's at play here. So for the Alabama situation, obviously I'm always going to root against them. But yeah, we'll just wait and see. All right, Kevin. He's trying one last time. This is the last time we're going to be able to try to let's get it one more whirl, buddy. You there? Kevin?
Where you go, Cal?
War Eagle, buddy. I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we played good last night.
We did play good last night. I agree with that. So what was your favorite part of the game last night?
Where Alan Flanagan dunked that one-handed.
Oh, man, that was a great one. He had a couple of dunks last night. He also had that good dunk on the dish from Wendell Green that I really liked. And I wish they had a better angle that they showed on social media because it was just a beautiful play overall. But honestly, Yes, Alan Flanagan last night was just outstanding in a lot of different ways. He had the great dunk, but he also had that great fadeaway shot that he did on a little turnaround that really shows you his athleticism. So great game for Alan Flanagan.
Broom 20 points.
Obviously, he's doing what he's been doing a lot, right? Double doubles, double digits in the 20-point range. He's our go-to guy in terms of offense right now.
Hey, I like Wendell Green and Katie Johnson.
Yeah, I really like them too. Aren't you happy to see Katie Johnson getting a little bit more offensive production these days?
Yeah.
It's really nice to see him back in the mix, at least in the offensive categories.
Hey, what time do we play Vanderbilt?
Let's see if I can look that up for you real quick. I actually have on my calendar. Well, I say I have it on my calendar, and sometimes it doesn't put the time on it.
I think we play at 7:30.
You are absolutely right, Kevin. Why'd you even ask me? You knew. You gotta trust your instincts. 7:30 it is.
I think we will get that Andalusia kid.
Oh, the running back?
Yeah.
Now, I remember us talking about this last week, Kevin, and the hype had kind of risen to the point where a lot of people thought he was going to go ahead and commit, but it hasn't happened yet. Doesn't mean it's not going to happen soon or happen at all.
I bet he might commit to Auburn before. Is he a senior or a junior?
He should be he's a junior right now, but for this cycle, he will be a senior, like the 2024. So he would when he would commit, he'd be there the next year, not this season, but the next season, right? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yep. So hopefully we'll see him, but still, we are just getting started with the 2024 cycle, so there's still a lot to be figured out in that realm.
I think that Walker White be real good.
I hope so. Obviously, we got a lot of hopes and dreams banked on him as a future for us at quarterback. We're talking about Walker White for those of you that are on Instagram. But we tend to do this as Auburn fans. We put a lot of hopes and trust in these kids, and we forget that they're kids and things go wrong with them sometimes. So I'm all on board the Walker White hype train, but I also want us to kind of temper expectations. Let's make sure he actually follows through with his commitment, gets here, and then, see what happens at that point.
Yeah, he said he wants all the wide receivers from high school come to Auburn.
Well, I'm sure every quarterback wants every wide receiver from their state to come, but he's definitely doing some recruiting for us, and I appreciate that. Anybody who comes in early to a recruiting cycle, you hope that they become humongous advocates for you in that recruiting cycle for everybody else.
Look at my cup.
I can barely see it. Ride for the brand. I see it now. Yep. Is that from football season?
Yeah. On to victory.
Oh, on to Victory Cup. There you go. Very nice. Well, I'll have to do a little show and tell later too, my friend. But it's always good to hear from you. I'm glad we finally got you through on the phone line.
Hey, Auburn softball team's 4-1 right now.
I saw that, and I'm super excited about their season, Kevin. So thank you so much for calling in tonight, buddy, and War Eagle.
War Eagle. Bye.
War Eagle. Bye. All right, so that was Kevin. If you guys want to call in, please do so. Don't be shy, and we can talk about what you want to discuss tonight. Rob's here now. Good to see you. Rob says, sold my tickets, but hopefully our Tigers can beat Tennessee. So you sold your Tennessee tickets for the last game of the season. How much can I ask, Rob, how much you sold those things for? I see Janice was talking about Equestrian on Instagram and said war ponies, y'all. It's war horses, not ponies, but still, I love the play on words there. Yeah, Rob, if you can give me a ballpark of what you sold them Tennessee tickets for. I'd love to know, honestly, to be honest with you. I'm not going to lie. Scotty Jr., you talking about Scottie Pippen Jr., who played for Vanderbilt last year, played ridiculous. That dude's a beast. He almost beat us by himself, and he's gone now, right? I think so. The court, talking about the Vanderbilt court, is also higher than the court seats. Yeah. The raised, to me, I just have nightmares as a basketball player of running off of a raised court and hurting my ankle. I think that's part of the reason I hate it so much, but just the fact that the benches are on the baselines and not the sidelines is just stupid. Absolutely stupid. Makes me upset. Holy crap. Well, Rob, since you posted, I'm going to share it. Rob sold his tickets for the Tennessee game, 4 tickets for $1,200. So quick math there, $300 a piece. So you must have some good seats, my friend. And it's a hot ticket. So I can remember a day, Rob, when you probably couldn't have sold those 4 tickets for $100, much less $1,200. So congratulations to you, sir. So one of the things that I regret heavily was not buying in to, and you still have to pay for it every year, but also buying into the season ticket thing to get good seats. Who knows where I'd be now at this point in the Bruce Pearl era, and what you could obviously make off them. I was not in a place financially I could do that at that point, as minuscule sometimes as that is. But now, man, it's hard to get into these ticket programs with the way the programs are doing, like basketball. Let's see. Devin says, super excited for baseball to start on Friday. And of course, more gymnastics. I've come to love this time of year with all the sports going on. It really is an underrated time of year. We're talking about the spring season with, gymnastics. Well, it's technically winter, but like equestrian finishes up in the spring. You got track and field, softball, baseball, what else? I feel like golf and tennis are still going on. All this, there's just so much going on. It's hard to keep track of it. And I think part of the reason why I think people sometimes check out a little bit is because obviously there's no football or basketball outside of, spring practice and A-Day. But I think a lot of people get overwhelmed by what's going on in the spring too. I think that's part of it too. And we are an everything school, right? Let's see here. Vandy can't build a good venue for anything. Well, one thing they have to their name is being unique, right? It's a very unique court. It's just an awful court. And let's be honest, they're not that good in many sports. Baseball, yes. Basketball, they used to be. I think they have a good bowling team or something like that. Poor little Vanderbilt, though. They struggle to stay relevant outside of academics, which is important. It really is. Devin says, back before I got involved with Auburn social media in this channel, I would only watch football. It has been so much fun getting involved in other sports. And that's what we're about here. That's why we started a podcast back in 2014. That's why we devolved into mini podcasts. That's why we got super involved on social media. That's why we have a YouTube channel now. And for those of you watching on other social media platforms, obviously come on over to YouTube. But that's why we broadcast there now too, because we want you all to have the whole Auburn experience. And that involves all the sports, but even stuff outside of sports. Yes, we're going to have always centralized on that, but the Auburn experience is very wide and vast. And that's why we love talking about it. Rise Life says knock the camera there. 2010 National Championship celebration was probably the coolest thing I've ever been to. And it was free to get in the stadium, I believe. Yes, it was. I was there. Everyone was there. And I was a graduating student during that time. And it was pretty awesome. We had to get there so early. It was so cold that day too, but it was worth it. You watched the National Championship in movie theaters? That's interesting. I didn't know they did that, but that was probably a smart idea by whoever did that, though. Rob says baseball has a lot to prove. Pre-ranked last in the West. I don't know why. Any idea? Well, because media people just like me have no clue what we're talking about. Just to be completely honest with you, it's just predictions. That's why I don't get too bent out of shape about all that kind of stuff. I think if we're answering the question, though, why would they assume that we are going to be picked very low in the SEC? It's a lot to do with probably the starting pitching that's now left. Chase Bright is gone. Trace Bright. Wow, why am I blanking on our other starter? That was really good. But Gonzalez is still here. We lost a lot of pitching. We lost some other very senior upperclassmen talent that went on to play in the MLB now. So I think a lot of that has to do. I think it's just really uncertainty for some people with this Auburn team. And they can go out there and prove them wrong, just like they did last year. So Butch Thompson's been pretty honest, saying that they still got a lot to work on and have an uphill climb on. But Hadn't even started playing yet. We got 2 days left till they start. So I can guarantee this. I think we'll get off to a fast start in non-conference play, but once we hit SEC play is really where it's going to get tough, as it usually does. Free sports. Josh Knox on YouTube. The second half of the 2013 national championship game, if Malzahn would have kept Nick Marshall throwing the ball, we would have won another national championship. But we got a lead, and it was run, pass, punt. You know, that's a common thing that I hear said a lot, and I'm just going to disagree with you on that. That's just like that. You can say any scenario with this and that is what had happened. Sure, why not? If Trey Mason had cut to the right instead of the left on that weird little last play that we did, he's gone again. So we can play the ifs and buts game. It has nothing to do with, I shouldn't say that. It has so much that could have affected the outcome of that game. Simply that notion is not what kept us from winning the game. But I was happy that we got there, and we got there because of Coach Malzahn and his ability to put people in the right positions at the right time. Let's see here. The refs let A&M and Bama beat Auburn at free throw line. Here we go again. Does the league dislike Coach Pearl? No. Well, I shouldn't say that. I think for some people there is a weird, and it's mainly in outside non-local media people, and maybe outside of some of the more prominent ESPN basketball personalities that just don't. They kind of come after Coach Pearl for a lot of reasons that don't make sense. But we got to drop this whole blaming the refs thing that's going on right now. It's kind of, in my opinion, for me, it's kind of tired. Auburn lost those games because it put in itself in a position to be affected by the poor SEC officiating. Now we can talk about Virginia. That we can talk about because Virginia double dribbled. They admitted it on the broadcast last stream. The broadcast 2 games ago, I think it was. That 100% cost us a national championship. Let's see here. 2013 was the no call FSU holding, but that's like every game. We're used to that with Alabama, right? Ifs and buts were candies and nuts. We'd all have a Merry Christmas. I said that saying one time to Clint Richardson, and he like blew his mind that anybody even says that, but here we are. All right. Again, take advantage of the call-in link if you'd like to. If you're watching here on YouTube, would love to hear some of your voices or see some of your smiling faces. And your comments are great, but would love to see some of y'all tonight. Other things to do real quick. Let me go ahead and remind you of our friends at allthingsauburn.net who bring to you the Auburn Family Live Stream call-in link every single Wednesday night. Thank you to them for helping make that possible. Check them out at allthingsauburn.net. Obviously a place that you can stay when you come to visit the loveliest village on the plains. But Miss Tanya, what she does great is about encompassing the whole of the Auburn experience, not just giving you a place to stay, but taking care of you while you're there. You'll really want to check them out, allthingsauburn.net. Their logo's on the top of our YouTube stream here. You can see if you're on Instagram. Of course, you can't see that, but you can at least know to go check them out. All right. What else is on y'all's mind tonight? What topics haven't we hit quite yet? We're about maybe a little over than halfway. I will probably end just a few minutes short of 9 o'clock tonight. I do have to be somewhere, but we've still got plenty of time left to discuss what y'all want to talk about. Rise Life said, I know this is random. Don't know what this has to do with Auburn, but South Carolina women's basketball is really good. Where you been, Rise Life? That's been a thing for a while. One of the things that women's basketball struggles with is a lack of parity, meaning there are a true handful of teams that just dominate everything and nobody else really has a chance. And I don't know how you fix that. Every once in a while, Auburn kind of gets back into the mix with a second-year head coach. We're trending in the right direction, but I'm not going to sit here and say that we're ready to compete with the South Carolinas because we've already played them twice and you saw what happened. So we'll see. But South Carolina women's basketball they are dominant in that area. Also, Tennessee used to be that way. Stanford was that way a couple of seasons ago, I feel like. But yeah. We would have been in the playoffs and possibly won a title if the 2014 defense was just average. I don't remember that defense being all that bad. I do remember our defense in 2013 being at least perceived pretty average, especially the secondary. I thought they were pretty good, but they were even plagued by a few injuries at time all season, and they still made it work. A championship team has both facets working. Maybe one's better than the other, but that's what we can say the same thing about the 2017 team. The offense had caught up at all to that outstanding defense. We would have been in the playoffs. So a lot of ifs and ups, and a lot of ifs, buts, and candies and nuts tonight. Who do you think is our best 2024 college basketball? I guess is what you're saying, recruit so far. This is Josh Knox on YouTube. If we're talking about Peyton Marshall, LeBaron, and the other guy, I can't remember. I've got to do my videos on them. I know I promised y'all those, and I thought about starting one today, but just knowing where everybody's minds is at in terms of guard play, the future at point guard, I think obviously your mind goes to those two players right away, the 2 point guard commits. But I'm kind of fond of this Peyton Marshall kid, just a giant beast of a man. I think he will, and I hope he will trim up a little bit. He's in high school. He's got plenty of time for that. But to me, that excites me. I love when we can get those big behemoth guys down there and have them to be a weapon to utilize. Janai's doing great. He's a big, tall guy himself, but he's not a Walker Kessler, nor is a Walker Kessler a Janai Broom. But yeah, I'm pretty happy with both of those guys, but I'm happy with Peyton Marshall too. When does the spring game start? I don't have, let me look it up quick. Auburn A-Day. Practice starts on the 27th. Your 2020, I got a little itch right here. That's weird. 2023 A-Day spring game will be on April 8th. They usually start it at about 2 o'clock. And spring games are really weird, right? Because we're almost in that period where the heat arrives. So you could be sweltering hot, or you could be last year where it was chilly and super windy. And I hate that. Like, we never get just the perfect temperature at a spring game. Like 1 or 2 times it's happened, because I love 8-day weekends because they're a good time to kind of come back and reconnect with the campus. Corey says, I want our third rival game next year to be Florida. Don't want to beat the... Oh, you're referencing when the SEC schedules change. Well, remember, those are people just speculating. If that's what you're talking about, Corey, what he's referencing is when the SEC schedules change, because Oklahoma and Texas coming in, most people assume that you're going to have 3 permanents and you rotate everybody else. That's kind of the conventional wisdom. And you've seen, obviously, Auburn and Alabama will keep theirs. Most people speculate, and I think should, Auburn and Georgia will keep theirs. But who's that third one? Some people have said Vanderbilt, just to kind of give Auburn a break from what they will have with Georgia and Alabama on the schedule every year. But he wants Florida. See, I actually would be more in favor of that, because I miss that. I think, honestly, in a perfect world, we'd still be in divisions, and we'd have the Southwest and the old Southeast Conference sub-conferences, and move Auburn and Alabama over there with Tennessee, with Florida, with Vanderbilt, with Kentucky, with South Carolina, Georgia, obviously. I would love that, but it's not going to happen. It can't work that way. You could also bring up the Kerryon Johnson injury, talking about 2017. That's a big one too. But if one player goes down, does that really mean that you are a great team if you suffer? Obviously not. I hope, it's an interesting comment here. I hope every day there is inches of sweat in that new workout facility. I bet there is. I bet there is. Josh, you were asking about the 2024 recruits. Aiden Holloway is a 2023 recruit. So if you want to pick favorites, he's the only one. That's it. So yes, he's my favorite in that sense. Sounds like we might get 5-star Tom Scott. Have no clue. Cam Scott, you're saying is that the wide receiver? Is that who that is, or is that the? I can't remember who that is. Most of you that have been here for a while know this. Like I only stay just right here with recruiting stuff. I pay attention when we get commits, signees, things of that nature. I can't get into the message boards anymore. To me, it's too toxic for me personally. Too obsessive for me personally. So I rely on you guys a lot to kind of tell me these things. But obviously I keep somewhat abreast of what might happen. May or may not have pre-recorded a video for a certain recruit that was already supposed to commit, but they haven't done that yet. And that's why you don't do that. That's why I don't get as super involved in recruiting. I think we should be in the East facing Tennessee. This is Rob saying that. Georgia and Florida. I agree. But it's not. There will be no more East and West SEC as we know it. That will change forever. And I know that's an obvious statement, but still need to be said. Be cool to play Florida again, but Colin is a scary player, and he always makes it tough for us. Colin. Who are we talking about, Colin? Am I missing who Colin is? Colin Sexton? The basketball player? He'll be gone after this year. That's who you're talking about? I can't remember. All right, we got our next caller tonight. Again, Instagram folks, you won't be able to hear him, but I'll try to relay what's going on. So we'll say hello to him. Mr. Thomas Manville, what's going on, sir?
War Eagle, everybody. How are y'all this evening?
Well, I'm doing good. I hope everybody else is doing good out there in YouTube, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook land. Not too much to complain about here on my end, sir.
Understood, man. How have you been?
Good. We're in that weird period where, basketball, we're all waiting for the postseason now at this point, especially with it, Auburn not being able to win a regular season title or anything like that. It kind of puts you in a little bit of a holding period with the spring sports not starting. So it's kind of like, I feel like I'm getting pulled a few different directions. Should we start focusing on baseball more now, but there's still hope for the basketball team? So that's kind of where I'm at with everything.
No, I understand that. So how about spring practice is fixing to start?
I know you were going to bring that up. I know you're excited about that. What's it?
12 days.
12 days. I was about to say, I can't do math. You should know that about me by now.
But man, like 12 days till we really start seeing something start happening again. Right. Kind of get our first look into this new team with a brand new coaching staff, a couple of guys that were here the last couple of years, but overall a brand new coaching staff, building from the ground up for the second time in 3 years.
Right.
But I got a lot of faith in this one. Something in me says this is going to be good.
You talking about this season, or are you talking about this spring practice?
This staff and this team going into spring, I feel good about it.
Yeah. I saw today ESPN put out one of the, everybody's trying to put out their way too early, metrics and stuff like that. But, it's always fun to look at. I forget what the metric was. Maybe you even saw it too, but I think it was measuring, gosh, I can't remember what it was now, but they had Auburn kind of in the 26th spot. And I was like, well, that's pretty generous given where we're coming from. But what I think that is a reflection of how well we did, regaining some momentum with recruiting, the obvious history of Coach Hugh Freeze and his success that he's had everywhere he goes. So you can't help but feel there's a and frankly, you can't help but feel a positive swing because of where we ended with the Harsin era. There's plenty of reasons. People have seen Auburn rebound quickly before. So I think if you're a betting person, then you at least bet on Auburn to look a little, better than they did last year at the very least.
No, absolutely. Especially with recruiting, with the transfer portal. The transfer portal is there to plug holes, but recruiting is there to build programs. Right. And so far doing that, they're doing it at a very high rate as well. So that does bode well for the future. But as far as spring ball comes, we've got a lot of pieces we can put in place to be successful. Like we've got depth in places that we didn't have depth at the end of the season. Now we're going to lose some guys at the end of spring. There's going to be guys that transfer. It's just part of it. But we've got good depth going into spring, and that excites me. We've got guys coming in as true freshmen that are going to get reps in spring and help their development, help building them into players that we need, and just help the team overall. And we haven't had that for a while. Right. We have guys that are built for certain positions, not we're recruiting him and then we're going to move him over here. We're going and getting guys in the portal, and we're getting freshmen that are specifically for certain positions in a new offensive and defensive scheme. And that hadn't happened in a while. And it thrills me. I love it. I love it.
Yeah. Well, we had a request for you, Corey. Corey wanted to know your insight on the new offensive line. And we're just kind of, for those on Instagram, so they can know, we're just kind of talking a little bit about insights into what this team will look like in the spring. And Thomas loves him some O-line. So this is why Corey wants to know what he thinks about the big hog mollies up front.
Well, according to my cheat sheet.
He got a cheat sheet.
Yeah, man, I have to. There's so much information out there. So Jake Thornton is the new offensive line coach at Auburn. He came from Ole Miss. He's very well respected within the offensive line coaching community and the offensive community of the SEC. Right. That's great. A really good start. I think he's got all the potential in the world to be a home run hire, but I'm not going to call a guy who hadn't been here for 10 years a home run hire for the offensive line.
Right.
But things I pulled from interviews with him, he said they had a need for certain body types that they filled. We had a history of bringing in guards and making them play tackle, and it's a completely different position. A guard can play center, to me, much easier than a guard can play tackle. It's easier for a left tackle to go play right tackle than it is for a left tackle to play left guard. It's just that different. I'm not an expert, but I played both positions in high school. It's completely different. Everything about it is different to me. But he recruited and transfer-wise, they brought in certain body types that they felt they needed. That's good. Tackles need to be long, but they don't need to overextend and be on their toes, because then you can just get yanked down like we saw Derek Hall and Eku Leota do to people time and time again. Just throw the man to the ground and go by him. We need guys that can keep their base up under them and do what they're supposed to do. But Coach Thornton also said they're starting from ground zero. Right. Day one was, here's what your stance should be in this offensive line. So these guys may have learned 4 different techniques throughout their high school and college career, but this offensive line is starting over brand new. That came right out of his mouth. We're starting with stance from the ground up, a complete rebuild.
Yeah, it's a beautiful sight. It's a beautiful sound to hear too, that this is a complete restart.
Yeah, absolutely. What more could we want? It's he said the 3 things that it's going to be built upon are discipline, toughness, and loyalty. So discipline, we understand that. No unnecessary penalties, doing your job the way you're supposed to, finishing your blocks, wanting to finish your blocks. And that's easy. Toughness, that's easy. Be nasty, be a Jeremiah Wright, get in there and just ruin somebody's day and make them not want to play football anymore.
And that's just as a quick, let me insert this too about Jeremiah Wright, with what you were talking about. We saw, I don't know who to credit. I'm having a hard time remembering everybody I've seen write about stuff this week, but there was a report put out that they committed to Jeremiah Wright, no more moving back and forth between defensive and offensive line. And it's time. The dude's filled roles where we needed to do, and he earned his keep to be an offensive lineman going forward. So I was happy to hear that.
No, absolutely. I've heard that as well. And let me point out, Neil, ruin someone's day. Yeah, that's a great shirt. Ruin someone's day, Auburn offensive line. I love that idea. Or take your lunch money.
Take your lunch money.
I love it. But the other thing he was going to base the start of this brand new offensive line and their scheme is loyalty. And you can take that a lot of different ways, but to me, that sounds like, hey, man, I'm the guard, you're the tackle. Me and you are fixing to combo block this guy, and then you're going to the next level, whatever the play calls for. And I'm loyal to that. I'm loyal to you. We know what we're doing. Offensive line is about fundamentals, not talent. If you've got the best fundamentals out there, you've got the feet, the hands, the leverage, the foot placement, the quickness in your hips and all of that. You don't have to be the most talented guy out there to be successful. And they're basing it on fundamentals and things that, and trust, and knowing that the guy beside you, you know what he's capable of, and he can do this. So you can do your job. So that guy can do his job. So the other guys can do their job. And it's a beautiful thing because we brought in some dogs, and we've got some dogs waiting in the wings, and it looks good for the O line. I am not gonna lie to you. It looks good. They just got to make it good.
Right. The perception game holistically, recruiting wise, has been won, especially across the offensive line. Now it's brass tacks time. Like, you got to get out there and prove that A, you got who you needed, and B, that turnaround is going to start right away. Now, listen, if anybody thinks that we're going to instantly just flip this switch and the offensive line is going to be 100% better, it's not going to happen. It takes time, and really, I'm a guy who believes that transfers are best utilized in small doses, only when you have to. And this was a year that you had to, because they are band-aids that can be pulled off very quickly, still exposing the wound that's still open. But what's happened is we have covered up some needs for the offensive line for this upcoming season, especially, and maybe a season after that, for this new wave. Your Braden Joiners, your Clay Weddens, your Isaiah Millers, I'm forgetting one name here, and I know I should help me, Connor Liu, the new wave that's going to be coming in, and the guys after them, to build the foundation for an offensive line that will be much better going forward.
Yeah, I've heard little whispers about Connor Liu coming out of workouts that he may be a little bit lacking in the weight department for an offensive line, but the strength is for real. Like they said, that's a strong dude.
Yep.
Like his tape showed that he can escort people off the property. Like we saw that. But for him to get to a weightlifting program in college, and the upperclassmen go, that dude's strong. Like, yeah, of course he was moving folks. That's good for us. That is incredible. That's incredible recruiting. And this kid was committed to Miami, full blown. It was not coming to Auburn. Then Hugh Freeze built his staff, and now we brought this dude in. Come on, man. Something. The pot's bubbling, man. It's
Well, I think it was Corey that asked the question. You got your answer, how he feels about the offensive line. And I think you brought up a lot of good points there, why we should be excited for that. So, Thomas, as always, it's good to hear from you, buddy, and appreciate you calling in tonight.
Absolutely. It's always great to be in Auburn, Tiger. Y'all have a good night.
War Eagle, man.
War Eagle.
All righty. If you'd like to call in, we've got a few more minutes left on our stream. About we'll say 5-7 minutes, something like that. Oh, well, look at that. There's another caller in the bank right away. So I guess we'll take him right now. You know him, you love him. There he is, Mr. Dusty. What's going on, sir?
What's up, baby? Can you hear me good?
I can hear you just fine. Were you ready to be brought on that quick?
I just got done recording, man.
Oh. Look at you with your microphone and all your stuff. You're just moving on up in the world, you know.
We're doing all right, man. Doing all right. I'm doing good, man. Doing good. I've missed you. Just been busy time in my life. A lot of things going in the right direction.
Busyness is sometimes a good thing, right? It can be also a bad thing if it's overdone. But you know, what do they say? Idle hands are the devil's workshop or something like that. So
something like that.
I always subscribe to that. I like to be busy because with good things, and then then you don't have time for non-good things. That's what I always like to think of it. What's on your mind tonight, Auburn wise?
I've been wanting to tell a story to you guys for a couple of weeks.
Let's do it. The story time. You got about 5 to 6 minutes. So I'll let you have the floor for story time.
Okay, story time. So LeBaron Filan committed about 2 weeks ago, right? And the 5-star, 4-star shooting guard from Mobile.
Right.
Wasn't really no secret he was going to commit. So I drove up there Friday night, the day he committed, to watch him play. And I'd seen him play before this year. I went up there, but they were playing like a low-ranked team, and it was just one of the deals. He dropped like 50 something because there was just nobody out there. this was a deal where this team had a guy committed to UAB. They've got some other guys that are committed in football. He was outnumbered. And on the road, hostile environment, the whole deal. He committed that day,
Right.
that Friday. And so he still got his Auburn shirt on that he committed in, all that. And I probably got there an hour and a half early, man. Didn't have a seat. I'm standing on the wall. Ended up standing right next to Wes Flanagan. So, like, right next to him. So, basically just got to watch him react as this game unfolded. And they were trapping him passing half court. And then if he broke that trap, there was another trap. It was just the whole team, they were on him. And the first half he struggled. The second half started kind of catching fire. About fourth quarter, 6.5 minutes to go, they're down by 11. His dad is sitting right in front of us because Wes's family has got really close with LeBaron's family.
Right.
And his dad, and I guess it's the guy sitting next to his dad, has been like his trainer his whole life. He turns over to him, turns back to Wes and says, "You know what time it is, coach." And LeBaron didn't miss another shot. And it was 69-69. Now, he's made 4 or 5 buckets to get at this point, and then just taking over the game. And then it's 69-69. He comes down, breaks the trap with ease. He goes in between his legs to break it. It was just it was crazy. And he gets fouled, makes both free throws, and then gets a stop on the inbound to win the game. And it's just a lot to be excited for there, man.
Yeah, it's good, and I can tell you, all as a basketball player too. And obviously, I play rec now, but just growing up playing that, it's infuriating as an opponent when these guys can just turn it on, like you just described. Like, we got him. We've been trapping him all night. We got him locked down. And then just a switch gets flipped. There was a little quick story time too. There was I think it was a reel or something on Instagram I was watching describing, wasn't OJ Mayo, but it was somebody fairly recently, but went to one of Michael Jordan's camp when he was, retired and just running a camp, and talked trash to him. And Michael Jordan took him out or took everybody out and said, "All right, now we're going to really go at it." And just took him to task. And he was the best recruit in the nation that year. And it's like, how do these guys, whether it's age, whether they're just having a bad night, just naturally hit that switch and it's done? Like, there's no hope for you. So that's a great thing for Auburn. But as somebody who's had to face those type of guys before, it's like, what do you do? Because every ounce of ability I ever had, I had to work for. And like, I have to make sure it's on, because if it's not there, it ain't coming on. But it's good to hear that LeBaron has that ability, especially if he's able to get out of traps. Because last night, Wendell Green, Katie Johnson, they went after them with some just trapping in corner along the sideline and stuff. So we know that guard play is something that we need to have a lot of ability in.
He's 6'4".
A lot of size probably would be helpful in some areas too there. So that's a good sign for us. So thanks for sharing that with us.
Yeah, it was exciting to watch. And then if you watch Tahad, he's from New Jersey, I believe.
Yep.
Just kind of seeing his highlights. He plays above the rim, man, even at 6 foot, and you can kind of see how these guys can have a nice little combination and what Bruce is trying to set up. And one of the stories about their recruitment is he brought them in at the same time on a visit and kind of pair them up to be friends. He kind of masterminded it.
That was all on purpose, baby.
Yes, sir. So plenty, man. Very excited. And then real quick on last night's win, we got baseball kicking off Friday. So excited. How about Chase Allsap getting the start?
Yep.
Starting the season off, man. That'll be interesting. I'm
not shocked by that though, personally. Like when he I saw that he had said Chase. I think it was on Andy Burcham's show this week where he had hinted at it. He said, "I have not made my final decision yet, but it looks like it's going to be at this moment Chase Allsap." I was like, there's that moment. I was like, oh, that's not shocking, but it's a little bit surprising. But at the same time, I'm like, well, who else would it be? I mean, like that, he's a pretty reliable guy. And so obviously you got to get off to a great start on a weekend series, setting up Joseph Gonzalez to hopefully get you the win. That 1-2 punch right there. I like that. Let's see how it works out.
Yeah, we got time. And then just real quick on last night's win, full 40 minutes.
Complete.
Just the defense leading the offense. And my thing is, if we're getting this version of KD, if you're getting this version of Lior, and you're getting this version of Dylan with 10 and 8, if we're getting that from those guys off the bench, man, just some of that, because you're not going to get that every night. If they just all give us half of that, we're going to be okay. We won a game where Wendell didn't make a field goal.
And if Chris Moore gets fully healthy and ready again and can work himself back in the rotation, Auburn's biggest problem this season is they have too much talent. Trying to find how to work all that talent together is the challenge, and it's what we've been working through. And not saying we peaked. I'm not saying we figured it out completely. But as I've been saying, there's a little bit left. And when that's realized, oh boy.
Saturday to me will be the thing. I'm very encouraged about last night. If you win Saturday and you start stacking them, and here's the thing I want to see, Kyle. I love blowing a team out by 30 plus. That was awesome. That was great. I want to see us in a tight game Saturday. I want to see us in a tight game, 70-70, with 2 minutes to go on the road. I want us to find a way to pull that out and then kill that demon. And then I think this team will be on and ready to go.
Yeah, it's one thing to dominate at home, but to survive a challenge on the road almost gives you a little bit more extra confidence than even a home dominance like that can win. So great.
And you're a big fan of that gym.
Oh,
you're a big fan of that gym.
Hate the gym. Burn it. I would rather watch every football game for the existence of time in Bryant-Denny than step foot in that monstrosity of a basketball arena. I hate it. It makes me upset. Like I want to vomit every time I see it. You know better than to get me going about that.
I know, buddy. I'm sorry.
Anyway, hey, it's always good to hear from you, buddy.
Yes, sir.
I appreciate you getting me riled up at the end. Where you go, man? All right. Great end of the show there. As always, good to hear from some of our regulars tonight. You guys don't be shy in the future. Obviously, I'll yell about basketball gyms, but not necessarily at you guys. Scandalous. You're here a little bit late, buddy, but good to see you. Airplane hangar for Alabama. It's ugly. It's not as bad as that thing in Nashville. Alabama is still down to Tennessee at the moment, it looks like, as we're watching this live. We'll let you guys go to finish watching that. I've got to run here real quick. Let me round out our show by giving you what to expect next. Plan is to do a live stream tomorrow. As I told you guys, we're not doing our Good Morning Auburn segment on the regular, but when there's something I want to talk about, we just picked up some preferred walk-ons at offensive line and linebacker. And there's actually been a few recently that I know they're not the most important in your minds, but they're going to fill some roles and some depth pieces that I think would be interesting to give you the list of preferred walk-ons that Auburn's brought in thus far at some interesting areas. So we're going to talk about that very briefly in the morning. So I hope you can join us 8:30 Eastern time. We'll do that. Next scheduled live stream after that will be our post-game show after the game in Nashville. Right after that, the Auburn-Vanderbilt game. But stay tuned. We've got some other videos planned for you all this week. Obviously, you need to be a subscriber here on YouTube, everywhere else, but here on YouTube to be part of that subscriber giveaway. You can be a channel member, a Booster Club member. All of the links in the description are ways that you can help financially support us, keep the lights on, help us do new and bigger things here. But you don't have to do that. You can just be here, smash the like button. The biggest request I'm asking for people right now is follow us on Instagram. That's why we're live tonight on that, letting people get a crack at us over there. We're trying to build that up to 1,000 followers because there are things that come with getting 1,000 followers there that would be helpful. Again, thank you guys so much for being here tonight. All right, final comments and questions. Let's see here. How are the refs doing? Alabama game. Who knows? Josh says Holden Geriner will beat out Robbie Ashford for the starting quarterback job. I doubt that. Highly doubt that. I saw you post that earlier. Sorry, we were in conversation with somebody. I highly doubt that right now. Now, if Holden gets into this spring and starts showing us some things, then I will start subscribing to that theory. Robbie Ashford is our quarterback. And I think we should, when I was saying earlier, it's fine for us to talk about that, but I think we all need to publicly start really throwing our support behind this kid because he is, he was in a tough spot last year. And I just want to see him succeed because if he succeeds, Auburn succeeds. I guess that's kind of what I'm getting at there, but great show tonight, guys. Thank you so much for you all being here, whether you watched on Instagram, on the feed there, whether you guys watched here live on YouTube, Facebook and Twitter. We appreciate you being here, choosing us for your Auburn content and being part of our little family within the Auburn family. Can't wait to see you guys next Wednesday night, but stay tuned to the channel for the upcoming live streams before then and videos. And of course, follow us on social media where we share the whole Auburn experience. War Eagle.